I'm Quinlan Howard, and this is my informative speech about the harmful effects of animal agriculture. Many people eat meat on a daily basis, but how many of you know the real effects of the things you're eating? What if I told you that with every bite comes suffering? It's easy to drive through any fast food restaurant and get a burger or a chicken sandwich. I'm sure many of us do it every day, but are you aware of what took place to get that food into your hands and the many harmful effects that come with it? I have been very interested in the practices and consequences of the animal agriculture industry for years, and extensive research has shown me that there is a hefty price to pay for the convenience of consumption. Today I will take you through the specific details of what makes factory farming harmful. The animal agriculture industry is one that prioritizes mass production and consumer convenience, which brings with it many harmful effects, including environmental damage, consumer health risks, and animal welfare concerns. Of the many harms caused by the animal agriculture industry, the harm to the environment is some of the worst. The large-scale operations of factory farms are responsible for immense damage to the environment. There are many factors involved in the environmental damage. Livestock is responsible for major greenhouse gas emissions. According to the Environmental Protection Agency, a single cow produces up to 264 pounds of methane gas per year. Not accounting for other livestock, the 1.5 billion cattle raised for food production globally release 231 billion pounds of methane into the atmosphere each year. Methane is a greenhouse gas, which is a gas that traps heat in the air and contributes heavily to global warming. In a Sentient Media article, author Hemi Kim cites a 2006 FAO report that found factory farming to be responsible for more greenhouse gas emissions than the entire transportation sector. In addition to air pollution, animal agriculture is responsible for immense land usage and biodiversity loss. Animal agriculture, specifically cattle ranching, requires a large amount of land for housing, feedlots, and grazing. This need for land requires areas to be cleared and suited for production. In the article, It May Be Uncomfortable, But We Need to Talk About It, the Animal Agriculture Industry, author Carly Konzacki refers to data that attributes nearly 70% of agricultural land use to factory farming, which contributes to biodiversity loss, water pollution, and deforestation. Deforestation is a huge issue in the conversation of animal agriculture's impact, particularly in the Amazon rainforest. The adverse impacts of the animal agriculture industry are not limited to the environment, but also the consumers of mass-produced animal products. Regular consumption of meat and dairy products is everyday practice for most people. It is such a norm that the majority of people are unaware of the health risks animal products pose. The animal agriculture industry is heavily funded by government agencies, and meat and dairy products are promoted by health organizations as necessary food groups. Despite this claim, it has been proven that the nutrition provided by meat and dairy is easily achieved through eating plant-based foods. Animal products are not only unnecessary for achieving a nutritionally sufficient diet, they are an active harm to consumers' health. In the Harvard Health article, What's the Beef with Red Meat?, the author says that an accumulated body of evidence shows a clear link between high intake of red and processed meats and a higher risk for heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and premature death. The evidence is consistent across different studies, he says. Red and processed meats are high in saturated fats, which increase the risk of disease with regular consumption. There are many studies that have linked consumption of animal products with adverse health effects. Despite the evidence, meat is commonly considered a safe food. The industry needs consumers to feel safe eating their products and are often not forthcoming with the risks they pose. In an article published by the University of Oxford, the author writes that regular consumption of red and processed meats is linked to a 15% higher risk of heart disease and 30% higher risk of diabetes, while regular poultry consumption poses a 17% higher risk of gastroesophageal reflux disease and 14% higher risk of diabetes. These statistics are extremely concerning, considering the amount of meat that so much of the global population consumes on a daily basis. In addition to adverse effects on the environment and human health, the most direct harm is done to the products themselves, the animals. Since the factory farming model took over globally as the way most animal products are produced, the demand for animal products has skyrocketed. The convenience and normalcy of these practices makes it easy for consumers to partake in purchasing animal products without questioning the process that took place to get it to them. The reality is that with such a high demand for animal products, the treatment of the animals involved is cruel and inhumane. Animals are viewed as products bred specifically for slaughter and not as living, feeling things. In an article published by Oxford academics, author Jonathan O'Malley details the horrific living conditions these animals are subjected to. Common practices include packing pregnant pigs into gestation crates so small they cannot turn around, placing egg-laying hens in cages stacked on top of one another in massive enclosed buildings, and raising cows on feedlots rather than the pastures that many of us associate with ruminants. These conditions often lead to weakened immune systems and illnesses spreading among the animals. It is not uncommon for illness to spread, specifically among chickens, that compromise the entire population and result in their slaughter and discard. Not only are animals confined into crowded spaces, but they are also frequently mutilated to be able to fit as many as possible, as close together as possible. An Animal Welfare Institute article further explains the outcome of these conditions, as well as the painful procedures that animals are subjected to. Hens are packed into cages so tightly that they cannot even spread their wings and often peck and harm each other's bodies out of frustration. Pregnant sows are forced into metal crates so small they cannot move and develop infections, leg abnormalities, and skin lesions. Growing pigs are confined so closely together they often become so frustrated they bite and wound each other. Cows on factory farms are confined to concrete with no opportunity to graze and grow naturally, and are often injected with growth hormones that can cause lameness and infections. Forcing animals into such small, overpopulated spaces requires mutilation to make them more suitable for confinement. Factory farms routinely cut off cattle's horns, remove the beaks of chickens, and dock the tails of indoor cattle, sheep, and pigs. Other common practices include hot iron brandings as well as castration. All of these procedures rarely come with any provided pain relief. This culmination of evidence leads to a clear answer about the ethics of animal agriculture. It is an unethical industry that causes substantial harm to the environment, practices inhumane and cruel treatment of animals, and poses significant health risks to consumers. There are ways to adopt more suitable and ethical practices into the animal agriculture industry, but we must first face the hard truth about the harmful practices we participate in. Consumption of factory-farmed animals is so normalized that even when people become aware of the adverse effects, it often garners no long-term change in behavior. This is a prime example of diffusion of responsibility, where individuals do not take action unless it is first claimed by bystanders. While most damage in this case is done by corporations, it is important for people to take personal responsibility first for any change to take place on a larger scale. There are ways to implement better practices, but we must first take the crucial step of recognizing the importance of creating a more sustainable future. Thank you. That was my informative speech.